session is actually going to be very interesting because we are looking to really understand the consumer in all its periphery. What is happening is that if, there was a good point that L'Oreal was trying to make in the morning that 30% of the customer are in the urban areas, another 60 to 70% in the rural areas. But I don't think all 70 are really in the rural area. There's another 30% who are really in between. And this is the customer who is probably one of the most aspirational customers and really the Indian consumer that everybody is excited about. The urban customer has anyway evolved to the next level. The rural customer is anyway going to take some time before he comes further. But the middle layer of the customer is probably the one who is, ready to experiment, ready to buy new things, ready to buy new ideas, new products, new lines of things which are getting introduced from overseas or from India into the market. So I think what I'm trying to capture in this session with all my panelists is that what is the consumer heartland like, which is really going to be the central node of the growth for all retailers to happen. So I've got an eminent panel who's got a virtual spread across the country amongst themselves, and they're really going to help us understand today how the consumer has changed. So I'll start with you, sir. With Sangeeta Mobiles, you've kind of created a rage in terms of, in South India, every time I have heard a customer talking on buying a CDIT product, it's always been with Sangeeta Mobiles. So you've probably seen customer in the urban area as well as in the rural area. One, I would like you to tell us that where do you see the difference between the customer? What do you see the difference in terms of his buying behavior? And when, particularly let's say in South India, which is probably where you have a larger expansion or larger spread, what would you suggest is, how do you differentiate from your, let's say, a competitor who is also selling mobiles? What is it that you do in order to retain the customer who's always found your services very valuable? How do you make sure that he remains with you? And let's say, how do you find a customer in the metro different from a customer in the, let's say, tier 2 or a tier 3 town of South India?
Well, Sangeeta is from headquartered at Bangalore, and we are a 4-decade-old company. So old Bangaloreans relate to Sangeeta much more closely than today's youngsters who have migrated from other parts of the country to Bangalore in the process of getting into their jobs in the software industry or whatever. So obviously, the challenge, to answer to your question, in the city, the loyalty factor is relatively lesser, is what I would like to believe. Sure. And as you go down to smaller towns, the customer is much more attached to your brand, sure, and he comes back to you. And moreover, nowadays the attrition level also, in the cities you have a lot more attrition. Right. So you have the same familiarity in terms of the store manager at the store in the smaller towns. And moreover, today the buying power, as far as the buying power is concerned, the tier 2, tier 3 towns are no lesser. Sure. We have extraordinary buying power there. And answering your question on how we are able to differentiate between our other competition, we have always tried to do some innovative things around which we have tried to stand out. Because being in a mobile phone business and being a trader, being a retailer predominantly, what can you do differently? Beyond a point, the store ambience can't do much. Sure. Store ambience and the product knowledge or the quality of the staff can take you to a certain extent, but beyond that, it's how you differentiate. And how could I differentiate? Because I'm not the manufacturer. I'm only selling an Apple or a Samsung or a Sony. Right. So I only have to differentiate in the value-added services that I offer along with the product. And that is what we have been doing over the years. Right from ever since the mobile started, Sangeeta has been the first retailer in the country to start selling mobile phones with a bill and warranty. So from the day one, we have always tried to innovate. Right. For example, initially when everyone was selling a gray market phone, we were the first ones to start selling a phone with a bill and warranty. it was very difficult to convince the customer, but we took the trouble. And those days, we never had price protection also from the brands. If there was a price drop, it was straight loss to, to our balance sheet. It was straight away hitting us. But we took those risks initially, and that has, over the time, paid us rich dividends. Today, the first name that comes to mind for the customers in South India, and especially Karnataka, is Sangeeta. And going forward, likewise, we came up with EMI offers. Many of them believe that, in fact, pan-India, everyone believes that Apple introduced EMI or Samsung introduced EMI, thanks to their full-page advertisements and their heavy ad blitz. But actually, EMI on mobile phones, in 98, there was no Bajaj Finance. There was a GE Countrywide Finance. So, and Sangeeta took the trouble of convincing GE Countrywide, and GE Countrywide was not at all keen. They were happy to finance the televisions and the refrigerators and washing machines, but not a mobile, because mobile, the name itself is mobile. It could get lost or it could get stolen. And how do you, as a financier, how does he recover? Right. So that was his big problem. But then we convinced them, and we did the EMI. Then going over, as years passed by, we introduced insurance. Then we introduced pick up and drop service. In fact, today insurance has become such a big hit. I feel really good to see some of the brands like, we all know about Syska LED. Syska have made a big name in the LED space. The same company, Syska, is today also into the mobile phone insurance. And that's contributing a good amount to their turnover. They have actually, incidentally, the Syska promoters are also Samsung distributors. So they have been following the mobile space closely, and they have seen Sangeeta, do well on this insurance front. And even before Syska, Apps Daily was a company based out of Mumbai, who started off as an IT company, who was developing the antivirus for the smartphones. From there, they went on to add insurance. And today, the promoters of Apps Daily walked into my office one day and they said, Mr. Subhash, we have shamelessly copied your insurance. And today, 70% of my turnover actually doesn't come from IT, it comes from insurance. So maybe because Apps Daily was a big success, Syska got into that space. Sure. So we have... Yes, we have actually not monetized these things. We have given them as a value-added feature along with the smartphone to the customer who bought it from Sangeeta. So these are the differentiators and many more to come.
Sure. No, I think that's a wonderful point that Mr. Subhash has made, that, as a retailer, whether you are a national retailer or a regional retailer, one thing that you need to understand is the pulse of the customer, and then go on innovating for him, because otherwise he's going to get fatigued either from your brand or from a product which he says pretty much in the same shop. Unless you give him something which is one notch up or one level up, it is quite possible that he may not come back to you over and over again. So I think that's a great point that you've made over there.
Initially, when we launched insurance in 97, 98, FIR was compulsory. But today, we don't need an FIR. Even if you were to buy an 80,000 rupee Apple phone, if the phone is stolen, the claim is settled in 7 days without an FIR.
Sure. Which is the...
And initially, we launched only a theft. Now we have upgraded to a liquid damage, physical damage, any sort of damage. And stretching it further, 1 month back, we have launched a price protection also. See, mobile phone is a category where every day there is a price drop. And if you buy a phone today and after 1 week you realize that the brand has dropped the price, you feel cheated and there's nothing much you can do about it. So we felt this is an area where I need to take care of my customers. So we have come out with a 30-day price protection post-sale, which is for the first time in the world. Nobody has ever done it, and it is impossible to do it. In fact, the brands don't believe it, but we have launched it 1 month back, and we are going one step further. You don't have to find out, do your research and come back to us and say there is a price drop. We will call you. The minute there is a price drop, we call our customers, whoever have bought in the last 30 days of that particular respective model, and there is a coupon given to them. which they could, set off against the subsequent purchase. So that's been our DNA. That's been our endeavor to always try and, value add to the customer. And so far, we have been reasonably successful, and we have been able to expand and grow our chain from a one store in 1974. Until 2002, we were one store. From 2002 to 2015, we are 340 stores. And most people assume it to be a franchisee model. Sure. Until recently, until we touched 320 stores, we never had a franchisee. So we have 320 own stores and 20 franchisee stores.
That's wonderful. Sorry. So before I come to you, Kapil, I'll also take and talk to Mr. Kumaravel in terms of first understanding that, sir, you're in a service business, which is, no, to you. So because he has a solution, so we'll kind of then come to his business. So you have, you're in service business within the retail format. And you've probably seen that acquiring a customer and probably keeping that customer loyal, and in your case, most women customers actually come to the store, is most important today. So how do you ensure that across the country, and today you've got a pretty good, pretty neat, expansion of stores. You have big cities, you have smaller cities, you have further down. So you've gone. How do you ensure that in all the cities you're able to maintain for naturals a certain amount of loyalty to your brand? How do you ensure that this, because salons are everywhere. They're all around us. It's a neighborhood thing. They're present in malls, they're present in supermarkets, everywhere. So how do you ensure that the customer is loyal to you? And a different kind of customer in different region also feels the same about your brand, and the person sitting in, let's say, a metro also feels the same about your brand and is loyal to you.
The first is this is a very large, the first opportunity for us is, this is a very large unorganized market. The first step is to organize the unorganized market. In phase 2, the organized market will become specialized, and in the phase 3, the specialized market will become personalized. We are in a situation in India today that lot of product categories is getting from an unorganized to an organized market. That's the big opportunity we saw. In the beginning, as Ritu pointed out, we were not doing a lot of good things. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Once we start doing the 6th salon and the 10th salon and the 20th salon and 30th salon, a kind of a uniformity started setting in. And the customers are seeing the same televisions, they are exposed to the same internet, they are exposed to the same cricket stars, and they are exposed to the same film stars. So the expectations from the customer being uniform, the ability of the retailer, especially the service retailer, to provide uniform service is a big challenge and a big opportunity. What we did was, we had the manpower is the heart of our business. Even now, we control that manpower completely. We take charge of the recruitment, we take charge of the training, and we also take charge of the HR management of the entire system. Because of that, we are able to provide uniform quality across what you are saying. Having said that, it is a continuous journey. I would call at this point of time, on a scale of 1 to 10, we are at 6, 6.5 at best, and that has to emerge. If we can reach 8.5 and 9, I think I can proudly say we have arrived in this business. It's a beautiful business to be in. India is a large country. We are all thinking that the market is available only in Delhi and Bombay. I strongly disagree. The market is lying elsewhere. And the big opportunity is available in the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, even tier 4 towns. The customers are ready. How are the product makers going to reach the product to the tier 4? That is going to be the big opportunity and big challenge in front of us. And when your mind is weak, the situation will look like a problem. When your mind is normal, the same situation will look like a challenge. When your mind is strong, the same situation will look like an opportunity. So if you learn to look at the challenge and problems as an opportunity, we can see India as a big emerging opportunity. Create the product, get into the water. Don't do too much of calculations on boardroom calculations and thinking whether it is going to be right, what we are going to do, spreadsheets and calculations. And before we do that, when we go to the market would have changed. It is very important that we get into the ready, fire, aim culture is what is required. We can go and then aim later. Lot of times we all want to specialize, we want to get everything right. In the eagerness to get everything right, we don't even start. And that is where we miss most of the bus. I would strongly urge, what we are playing is get into the market, start correcting yourself, and then moving. And that is how the 20s and 30s salon we have done. But as of now, we have come to a reasonable standardization. We have a template for everything, for right from the store selection to the franchise partner selection to the product supplies to people selection to training. Everything we have standardized and we are approaching that. But having said that, it's a continuous process. That's all I can say.
Sure. That's a great thought. I think that if the market by itself is very unorganized, the fact that you are organizing it gives you a great affinity with the customer. So that is one. And then certainly once that customer affinity is formed, your innovation and the continuously new things that you offer within your brand, within your retail format would keep the customer probably coming back to you over and over again. So great thought there, Mr. Kumaravel.